Fuck Ricky Chow. As a Cambodian American, Asian American, and child of immigrants and refugees, we do not condone his actions. We do not harm children, elderly people, or pregnant women. If a child
Yeah,
needs water,
okay, so you probably saw some Koreans, we've seen some Japanese. This guy is not considered a northern, I don't think he would be a northern Asian. And I'm gonna talk about this a little bit more. Asians have their own racism, they have their own internal racism going on. Okay, they have their own anti-brown, anti-Asian. Asians have anti-Asian racism, and I'm not talking about colorism. I'm talking about hardcore. They call each other jungle Asians. I mean, they just real racist with the rhetoric. If you look at some of the history of Japan and their colonization, they are literally considered the Yahtzees of the Asian world. Okay, and the other northern Asians are pretty close to them. And so, I'm gonna, they found out this guy was Mr. Chow, and they recognize, I'm just saying they have their own issues. So diverse opinions, diverse experiences, diverse history. And so I can see why this guy who's a Cambodian, who probably has not been treated well by Asians, Northern Asians, would feel some of the ways he feels also.
and cannot afford it, we provide it for them.
Hmm. Yeah. So again, and I appreciate that. And of course, we have some more Asians who are speaking up, and surprised they're really speaking up, and I appreciate that. That's good. We appreciate what they're
Chow.
saying.
In 2023, he shot a 14-year-old black boy, Cyrus Karmic Belton. He had shot at 2 people prior to this. And I need the Asian American community to understand that you did not fall out of a coconut tree, that the anti-blackness rooted in the Asian American community is the Asian American community upholding white supremacy. AAPI month is over, but we all need a history lesson. Let me go through a couple things. 1, slavery never ended. I will tie everything together, but stay with me. Slavery never ended. It was actually just the modern prison system.
He's referring to the 13th Amendment, which said, basically says uncompensated labor should be abolished everywhere except for people who are incarcerated for committing crimes. That's the 13th Amendment. And that's how that whole convict leasing program came about. It was basically a compromise with the southern states. Well, we can't put them in on a plantation anymore, except if we find them guilty of a crime. So we'll just create a whole bunch of new black codes. We'll call it Jim Crow. And loitering, in other words, having less than $10 in your pocket when the average person probably doesn't make $10 a year, that's going to be loitering. If you don't have a job, well, don't worry about that. We'll give you one. They just found almost 100 bodies right here. Shout out to Big J. They found almost 100 bodies about 8 miles away from where I live in Sugar Land. And this was an old convict leasing farm where they literally worked these young black boys to death out in the fields doing mass hard labor. Oftentimes, back at the turn of the 20th century, a lot of our ancestors would disappear. And we didn't know what happened to them. And come to find out, some of them got arrested by law enforcement and they died working in these work camps. No trial, no due process, no nothing. I want you to think about that. Many of you all, if you talk to some of your grandmothers, they have relatives that just disappear, especially men that just disappear. You don't know what happened to them. Around about, 1890, 1910, they black men just disappeared. Young boys, where was he going? He was just going down to the corner store. He just disappeared, never to be seen again. Worked to death in these labor camps. Arrested for vagrancy. Just think about that. And this is what we've had to deal with. This is in the common history and psyche of the foundation of Black American person. These are conversations that we've had with our relatives. And so when we have Africans and Caribbeans coming over here to the United States, and we say stuff like, when I tell you all that Generation X, which was born in 1965, is the first generation of Black people born fully free. And many of you all are 4 years old, less in your 40s. Think about that. Okay? Let me say that again. For you all who say this happened a long time ago, Generation X is the first generation of Black Americans born fully free in this country. And many of them are still in their 40s. Think about that. Let that sit on you for a minute. That wasn't that long ago. Let's keep listening.
2. U.S. conquest never ended. It's just much easier to do a regime change and control other people's governments. So Korea and the Philippines, I'm talking in broad strokes to make a point. They are glorified U.S. military bases. The U.S. doesn't just hold hard power over these countries. Many Asian countries, they also hold soft power because America exports its culture. The bedrock of U.S. culture is capitalism, white supremacy, and because of modern slavery, anti-Blackness. So when we tempt Asian immigrants to come to America that have consumed the American dream, the allure is the proximity to whiteness. But when you get here, at best, you're a cog in the capitalist machine, and at worst, you too are a glorified serf, a subsistence farmer, someone who has to work just to survive. And you realize you were tricked by the system. But instead of pushing against the system, because then you would have to admit that you are fallible, that you can be tricked, you instead lean into the oppressive system and uphold the tenets of white supremacy in the United States, because you think that one day you'll be rewarded by this. So that anti-Blackness that you are performing and mirroring mainstream white culture becomes ingrained in you, and you begin to believe it, and then you begin to spread it and pass it down. And then innocent young Black children are murdered without repercussion. If you are an Asian American and you harbor anti-Blackness within your heart, you're actually upholding your very own oppression. You're holding the knife of white supremacy to your own neck. Model minority myth meant to divide and conquer us. Just think critically, why does mainstream culture sow so much division? And why do you believe it? Why do you eat it up?
Yeah, my thing is, why is Asian culture, why are you even anti-Black? I want you to ask me. I want to know, because when I look at, we've never invaded Asia. The Black Africans, we didn't do it. But who dropped 2 bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima? Fat man, a little boy. It wasn't us. Okay, who invaded the Philippines? It wasn't us. We didn't do that. Who invaded Vietnam? France. I think Russia tried. I know the United States tried. We didn't do that. I mean, so why is it that you're anti-Black? What is it that Black people have done to you that calls for you to be anti-Black? We haven't unalived your people by the hundreds of thousands of millions. We didn't get you addicted to opium during the opium wars, and like Great Britain did, because they wanted to force you to trade with them. And so they got the population of Chinese people addicted to opium. We didn't do that. And yet you choose to be anti-Black. That does not make sense to me. It does not make sense at all. Now, again, we've seen a lot of Black people, a lot of Asian people who are very empathetic, and I appreciate them. I certainly do. But unfortunately, there's always one. Somebody type always one in the chat room. There's always one. And unfortunately, this very prominent one has a reputation for saying crazy, inflammatory stuff about Black people, racist Black people, racist things towards Black people. And this guy is one, and I'm gonna let him play. I want you to hear what this gentleman has to say. He says, shout out to Fuqua. I'm gonna let him speak. Okay. And he goes on for about 2 minutes, and basically he said he dares us to boycott. I want you to listen to him now. I want you to listen to what he has to say. There's always one. And you heard a whole list of Asian people saying, hey, this is horrible. Child was killed. This guy skips past that and says, you know what? What you gonna do about it? That's what he's saying. Let's let him play.
I love when the Black community says, let's boycott Asian businesses. Please do. We'll get rid of the Chinese takeout, the dry cleaners, the laundromats. Let's get rid of the liquor stores as well. Get rid of the Jordans you guys wear, the Nikes you wear, the shower caps, the Hondas, the Hyundais, all your car electricians, the electronics in your house, the Sony, the TV system, your sound system, the microphones that you guys use to rap and speak about awareness for the black culture and hip hop culture. Where do you think that's made in? That's made all in Asia. And here's another thing for you guys. You guys want us to leave the neighborhood so bad? Oh, Asian people are not neighborhoods? We're in white neighborhoods. We have our own Chinatown. We have our own Koreatown. You think we really need you guys to benefit off and make money? A lot of us do go to college as well. You're being outworked by immigrants who barely speak English. And you're not embarrassed? Go to the bank, start your own businesses, and deal with your own people. I want to see your own women get on their hands and knees and do pedicures and manicures and deal with nasty ass attitudes, okay? Please, boycott Asian business. I'm all for it.
Well, I need to run that back, or was that enough? There's always one to tell you how they really feel.